I'll go ahead and repeat what I said in the last video, and say that if you're in a bad mood or a depressed mood, or you're dealing with legitimate emotional trauma or anything like that, you probably don't need to watch this video. Or even if you're just squeamish, I want you to know what you're getting into. We are going to be talking about death, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about the specific practice of carving statues and effigies of rotting corpses, which was prevalent around the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance. You see, when it comes to art, people don't just portray themselves or other people before their deaths. Sometimes people are portrayed in art after their deaths. And this is where we get into the horrifying world of what are called cadaver tombs. Starting out with the most tame example, we begin with a fresco of a cadaver tomb by Masaccio. You can see that this is actually a painting of the Holy Trinity, famous for its one-point linear perspective and convincing illusion of space, which was at the time relatively novel. But beneath the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, there is a depiction of a skeleton lying atop a sarcophagus, and an inscription that reads, "What you are, I once was. What I am, you will be." And these kinds of tombs which depict the dead person in painting, fresco, or effigy are what are called cadaver tombs, or transi if the cadaver that is being displayed is more in a state of decay. Here we have the monument of John FitzAlan, who died in 1435. On the top here you can see what appears to be a representation of his dead body with hands together in prayer. This doesn't seem too terribly out of the ordinary until we pan down and see another sculpture, this time of his decaying corpse. The grimmest of cadaver monuments, in my opinion, is this one of the Prince of Orange René of Chalon, who died in 1544 at the young age of 25. After his death, his widow commissioned a sculpture of him, not as he was in life, but as he is in death. This sculpture portrays the prince in rotting skeletal form, with muscles and sinews, with outstretched arm offering his heart to God. And when I say offering his heart, I mean that from what I've read, it's said that originally the statue held the actual preserved heart of the dead prince. It is positively ghastly, and there is nothing about it that I like. What's remarkable to me about these cadaver tombs is the artistry and the craftsmanship, the detail, the fact that someone would go to such painstaking lengths to represent someone's decaying corpse in such vivid detail. It definitely indicates a very different attitude toward death than what we have today, what some have called the cult of the macabre. It's probably no coincidence that these gruesome art pieces began cropping up only after the Black Death began sweeping across Europe. Add to this the fact that medieval Europe was as steeped in biblical ideas as they were in death. In medieval Christianity, there was a strong moral obligation to remember that you are but dust, and to dust you shall return. For what is your life? Asks the New Testament. It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. Therefore, it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For this is the end of all mankind, and the living will lay it to heart. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. And not only did cadaver monuments serve as a visual representation of these ideas for people who could not read the scriptures for themselves, but they also ensured that there would always be a house of mourning to go to. Always a reminder of the inevitable end, and a particularly grim reminder that no matter who you are, no matter how rich, how famous, or how beautiful, you decay like everyone else. And while I myself do think that cadaver monuments are a bit pathological, I think we have much to learn from the symbolism of these more visually oriented cultures. The term Memento Mori, despite being in the form of a verbal command to remember that you will die, is actually more often used as a noun, especially in the world of art. A memento mori is an object that reminds us of ourselves and of our fate. Millennia before people began talking about how we've outsourced our minds to our smartphones, people were thinking with physical objects. Objects that, rather than just being a source of data and information, contained layers of meaning, which, some might say, is the scarcest commodity in modern secular culture. Before I go and leave this bummer of a video, I want to say that I really do believe that eudaimonia is the telos of human nature. Human beings have a purpose, and part of that purpose is flourishing and happiness. The Aristotelian part of me says that we need to filter our remembrance of death through the lens of our eudaimonian telos. Think about death, but only to the end of cultivating a wise gladness, and to the end of cultivating life in such a way that you can genuinely say every moment, ta apathenein keradas. As always, thanks for watching, live long, prosper, and I'll see you in the comments.